money, Jordan Belfort. Stacking penny stocks while I'm flipping these birds. Sipping on Ciroc, trip 'em up with the words. I done popped the Molly and I think it's be my third.
What is going on, DGen Nation? Kenny Kim here, bringing you another Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast. This week for the Charles Schwab Challenge. As usual, I am here with everybody's favorite Canadian, Tyler Tamboline. Tyler, what is up, my friend?
What's going on, Kenny? I want to get you to say Charles Schwab Challenge again. That was a really good emphasis on each of the words. So sure, we'll hear it again. We'll talk through it. Want to remind everyone, though, before we get into it very quickly, this show is brought to you and presented by PrizePicks.com. Head on over to PrizePicks.com. Use promo code MMN. Get yourself a 100% deposit bonus up to your first $100. Lots going on there each and every week. Want to check it out? Picks and plays, all different ways. Check out PrizePicks.com. Use promo code MMN. Kenny, Brooks Koepka, 5. Gets the job done. Thoughts?
So I was playing golf the other day, and I had just bought a new glove, right? And it was tight. It was a tight glove. And literally the only way I could take it off was if I did this and pulled it out each finger. Koepka wasn't bullshitting on that one. What a win by Brooksy. What an event. The course was immaculate. I can't believe that they kept the course in such good shape on Sunday. Of course, the scores were a little bit lower on Sundays because everything was so soggy. But to be able to play in no standing water and be able to play the entire day Saturday, kudos to the green staff there. Wow. They did an impressive job. I loved the course. I mean, it could have used a couple of different things, like the par fives. They should have been able to not being able to reach sort of took a little bit of the luster out of that. No one really was reaching those par fives. You didn't have those eagle chances. Personally, I liked 14. I liked the drivable par 3. You had a couple of eagles, par 4. You had a couple of eagle chances there. I know Cantley had an eagle on Sunday. Great win by final day by Brooks and by Hovland. They went toe to toe. I would not be surprised if we see that matchup again in a major, possibly this year. Because these two guys are in that level. They're so good that I could see them doing it again. Like after the round, I went ahead and bet Hovland 22-1 for the U.S. Open, 25-1 for the Open Championship. I just went ahead. He's going to win a major soon. His short game was, around average, maybe even a little bit better. Pretty solid showing. I mean, really, he went toe to toe on 13 was the big decider outside of 16. But on 13, what's his name? Hovland walks in that birdie putt, like steps towards Koepka. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a little bit of swag in that birdie making. I love seeing that from Victor. You don't really see that too often. He was in it to win it. I mean, God, it was great. And then of course, Koepka just hits this like drippy, smooth 10-footer for par. So it's not tied. It's only a 1-stroke lead. They both birdie 15. They both par 14. And then of course we get to 16, and that was really Hovland's only mistake. Now, it was the biggest mistake of the tournament. One back with 3 left, and you skull fuck it into a goddamn fucking bunker lip, which was really too bad for him because it would have went down to the wire. It would have went down to the last hole. One of the two, I guarantee, would have birdied the last hole to win the event. I could see that happening. Really, really impressive showing by Hovland, but we got to give Koepka props. He played it smart. I love his thought process in that final round. A couple of things that you noticed. He took his time, especially on short putts, and that wasn't, I don't think, just because he was nervous about the putts. I think it's because he knew that Bryson was in front of him. He didn't want to wait on the tee box. So, he marked his 18-inch putts, walked it around a little bit, chilled, marked back, put the ball back, did a look-see, took his time. Nothing outrageous, nothing out of the ordinary. Hovland's already finished with the hole, so he's not stopping him from doing anything. Really, really smart technique right there. You never heard of them waiting on any hole, and I think it's because of that. He took his time. He knew that people know that him playing slow bothers him. And he took that into account and made a game plan where it would not affect him. Exceptionally smart. He started off so strong, and it never really went away. He had that little hiccup on 6 and 7, but those are like two of the hardest holes on the course. Getting bogey on those, okay, that's fine. But starting off 3 birdies in the first 4, I mean, you knew what was up. And then, of course, Hovland brought it back. Koepka just played so smart, major golf. It was one of the best. It was the best. I liked it better than the Masters this year. It was really fun to watch. Of course, I hit the Koepka 20 to 1 bet. Always nice hitting a major. Cashkin Cornerstones going wild here recently. Since the Masters, 18 of 20 made cuts, 50% top 20 percentage. Not bad. Heating up at the right time. Tambo, what'd you think of the event?
Yeah, I loved it. Like you said, a lot goes with it. We got the U.S. Open in 3 weeks. I know that everyone's already turned their head to that and LACC, but this course, Oak Hill, like you said, was pretty incredible stuff. Kept it in check. I know not everybody was happy with the Sunday result in the sense of not what happened. I mean, it was great ending to the tournament, but how the course played. And it is what it is. Not much you can do.
You couldn't change that. It was too so soft,
Yeah. It's not much you can do about that. The point you made, though, about the Brooks setting his own pace, I think he talked about it a little bit after, he didn't fully go into what people took and put 2 and 2 together of him mentioning at the Masters. He went at everyone else's pace. This time he said, I'm going to set the pace on my own terms. And what ends up happening, he goes out and gets the W. So from just a perspective of like, he talks all the time about reading Kobe stuff and Mamba mentality and all that. He's like, he really got into the mindset. It wasn't even just the fact that he's healthy again, the physical, the game is back, the swing looks good, all of that. It was everything that he did to put it all together and then to learn from your mistakes at the Masters to come back and get the job done here. Pretty impressive stuff. It's been talked about. I think KP, Kyle Porter, was getting dunked on today. I was attached to that thread, so I'll talk about it. Kind of funny, though. Like, when he was so bad, it was like the Omen or whatever, and he came out and shot like a 78 or an 81 or something and missed the cut. And he'd said, I think Kyle Porter said he would never win an event again. And I said at that time, I think it's just crazy, all the Brooks sucks stuff. Because if you watch the Netflix documentary, people are dunking on me for this, backing it up. And I was kind of backing up Brooks, saying, look, the guy at the time was clearly having a rough go at it. If you watch the Netflix documentary, he was in his feels. Like, this was a bad time for him, but he was working on getting healthier. He was talking about how the trophy shelf, which was built huge, by the way, was supposed to fit more trophies on it. And he was expecting to have more by now. And I think it was the right thing to do. I said the loser at the time was Liv, because they signed it, but he sold the top. Like, he was feeling that he may not ever get healthy again. So he took the bag, and you can't fault a guy for that. I don't think Liv is winning much more because of Brooks all of a sudden having success on Liv and now winning a major. I don't think it really helped them that much, but the win for Brooks was, and what I was trying to frame up in that tweet was quite simple, is that he takes the bag because he doesn't know if he'll get there again. But if he does, he's got the bag and the major and the trophy and everything to go with it. And now he continues to have his cake and eat it too. So I really thought just everything going on with Brooks through all of this stuff, it really showed out. And then for him to go and get another one yesterday, like the names that he gets put in the class of with 5+ majors, I can't even remember the stat. It was like when Rory, Rory was getting, I can't remember. Do you see the one about Rory about getting his 5th and Brooks had 0 or something? And now Brooks has
Rory
5
had
to
4.
match.
Rory
4 or
had
something.
4.
Yeah. Either way, that's pretty crazy when it's down the stretch like that. And then just one more note off of Brooks for a second, the Hovland stuff, like, man, talked about it earlier in the week, last week, a bunch. Fried Egg Polly, I kept hitting him up, just talking about it on that. Like, he wrote a whole article on the Hovland stuff, and it was crazy to see the transition in the around the green game. It's actually pretty strong. Now,
it was good.
It looked very good.
Pretty good.
He looked good at the Masters. You brought it up last time after the Masters when we did our recap. You talked about it there. I mentioned it again too last week, and just some of the other stuff. And in the other events that were the easier events, maybe don't need it as much, but in the bigger events, if he can just bring that around the green game with everything else, he's in the mix. What do you know? Until 16, he was doing his thing. All the talk was about Brooks, but really Hovland was the one that was doing his thing. Like, Brooks was just setting his pace and making the putts that he needed to, and he was still playing incredible, but Hovland was doing his thing down the stretch until 16. So not much you can do about that. Other guys real quick, Kitayama back in the mix in a big time event. Cam Davis, from, how he was to then missing all the cuts to saying he's not healthy, then to saying he got healthy again to come back, and now he's looking pretty good. Rory and Chef back in the mix, like, found their way up to the top of the board. Cam Smith, Bryson, some of the Live guys. Like, there was a lot to be talked about at this major. I thought it was a really good one all around. We got a good leaderboard. We got a good ending. Anything else they had
some other guys that weren't really on the top of the leaderboard, but sort of caught my eye. Hatton, the Hatton Xander DJ featured group on Thursday and Friday was must fucking see TV. It was unbelievable, especially on Thursday when DJ was playing really, really well. Xander started with 4 over after 3 or some shit like that, had to make his comeback, which was incredible. And then Hatton, of course, cussing up a storm, shooting +7 on the first day, but finishing the event at 1 over par inside the top 15 after a 77 on the first day. That says a lot, I think, about Hatton. A lot about people talk about Hatton where, if he's pissed off, he's not going to be into it. He's just going to explode. Well, he was plenty fucking pissed off on Thursday after watching it. The F-bombs were flowing. Okay. And he just couldn't get anything really done. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, he just grinded it out with 6 under in his last 3 rounds, in his last 54 holes. Really, really impressive stuff. I went ahead and put a number on him, 40-1 for the U.S. Open, 33-1 for the Open Championship. I really liked what I saw from Hatton, especially him grinding it out like he did. Really impressed me. Other guys that impressed me, Denny McCarthy. I know he's not going to be in your mix when you look at players, but he was 6 over with 4 holes to play, 4 holes to play on Friday. Okay. And he was going through the hardest stretch, like 15, 16, 17, and 18. Like 3 of those holes are like really, really hard. He went 1 under to make the cut on the number and finished even 70s, 3 straight 70s, I think, or something like that. Finished even par for the other 3 days. Really, really solid. Gained 4 strokes with his approaches. Did his putting thing. I love Denny McCarthy this week. One of my favorite plays. Other things, you spoke about Rory. DJ, I think another major or 2, he could be back, because like when I watched him on Thursday, he looked dead serious. Like he was really in it. Now it only worked for about a day and a half before he fell back. Maybe he needs to put a little bit more work in, like you see Bryson doing, and you see Brooks doing, and stuff like that. Always on the range, especially Bryson out there. Those are some of the guys that might not have been near the top of the leaderboard that really, really impressed me. And of course, the whole Michael Block thing. Impressive. I don't think we need to go over it too much. The hole-in-one was amazing, and the 2 up and downs on 17 and 18 to play next year was incredible. I know people are probably tired of it, but still, for the casuals, it was great, and it's going to be a huge part of the Netflix Full Swing show for next year, which is great because we want more casuals to be fans. Anything else about the event, Tambo?
No, we could wait for the movie to come out to watch the Michael Block story and get the rest of it, but incredible stuff. The hole-in-one was just nuts down the stretch, just everything with him. But yeah, overall, another solid major, Kenny. And like I said, only 3 weeks from the next one. I can't wait. U.S. Open is always I love the U.S. Open. So I say this every year. I'm the Canadian that goes on and on about it. But we like the Open to stay up late and watch it overnight. We like the Masters because it's the first one of every year in the history. PGA is always sneaky good. We got another one this year, but I don't know. I always get excited for the U.S. Open. So I can't wait for that one. LACC. And I think we got Charles Schwab Memorial, Canadian Open, and then U.S. Open. So coming up very soon.
Shout out to DJ Nation, our 3rd most watched and downloaded show. Combined.
Tons of great comments and reviews and YouTube, and Apple reviews and all that stuff. So shout out to everybody's huge support. Appreciate everyone on that aspect for sure. We filled the listener league again, so I'm told that 2,000 is possible in 3 weeks from now. So we'll clarify as we get closer. We definitely got to fill these ones up leading up to, just to keep the mojo going there, but I definitely think that was a huge factor in getting that one filled as quickly as we did. We got the job done at 1.5K.
All right, so let's go to the listener league for the listener league winner for the PGA Championship. Crank it up 10. It has a hat. I don't know what the hat says. It is way too small for me to read, but a black hat avatar. He won with 438 points. He had Koepka, the winner. He was right around where his ownership was in GPPs, around 12.5% in our listener league. Cam Smith, about 10%. Finished in ninth with a really, really solid Sunday. He could have shot way better than 65. He had a couple of bogeys in there. It could have been like 63, 62 out there for Cam. DJ, he went straight up live. Straight up live. DJ. He ended up finishing in 55th, but man, he had a lot of birdies. 11 birdies, not bad total before this. I mean, you look at Cam Smith, who finished, 46 spots in front of him, had 15 birdies. So, right around there. Cam Davis had a really good week. He was 2% owned. Finished in fourth place. Bryson DeChambeau, wow, all the live guys, 4% on. We talked about Bryson. I couldn't pull the trigger. Hopefully you guys did out there. We talked about him immensely all weekend. And Mito Pereira, who finished at top 15 or top 20, 11%. 5 live guys. Won the listener league this past week. What do you think of the lineup?
That's the thing. I wasn't sure if you would notice it and pick up on it, but it's pretty crazy. Yeah. 5 live guys. I'm not sure if there was another option there instead of Cam Davis, or he just rolled him out and was looking for all 6. But either way, it looks like that was the clear path. I don't think this wasn't by accident. It looks like it was, I'm going to build out the best live lineup I can find and see where it lands and be okay with it. And if it is Cam Davis and he's 7,400, he's healthier, he's playing a little bit better, maybe we can get after it with him. So shout out to Crank It Up 10. Solid lineup. Like I said, balanced ownership, not too much. DJ being the highest owned guy at 18, so not really bad after that. A bunch of guys, and then Bryson and Cam down at that 2-3%. So shout out Crank It Up 10. Already got him in the Tournament of Champions, and then we'll see him in the 3-man this week.
All right, that sounds good. Let's get to the course for this week. After an exciting PGA Championship, man, it was exciting. I loved it. It was it was a really, really good watch, and it was really nice having those 4 featured groups. I mean, 12 guys that you can watch. It was nice. The PGA Tour moves back to Texas for the Charles Schwab Challenge. This is an invite-only tournament with a smaller field of just around 120 golfers, with the cut still being top 65 in ties. Only around 55 golfers will be cut rather than the normal 80 or so. The course seems to favor experienced golfers. Since 2001, the winners of this event have averaged around 7 appearances at Colonial before their victory. Only 8 golfers in 70-plus years have gotten their maiden victory here. 6 years ago, Jordan Spieth was the youngest winner at Colonial since 2001. The year before, Kirk had just turned 30 when he got his win. Berger was just 27 3 years ago when he won on the heels of the COVID break. 2 years ago, Kokrak was 36. Last year, Burns was 25. The youth movement has taken over the winner's circle 4 of the last 8 years, but every golfer other than that has won here between 2002 and 2023 or 2022 was above 31 years old. The old guys definitely live this week. The Brendan Todds. I don't know. I don't think Kuchar's playing, but if Kuchar's playing, he'd be live. The Reeves, those old guys, they're live this week. Weather also plays a big factor, as it does on most Texas courses. The winning score here has fluctuated between -9 and -21 the last decade. The biggest reason for the scoring difference, Mother Nature. Taking a glance at the forecast, it looks like it's going to be comfortable temperature-wise all 4 days with light winds. If the wind forecast is correct, I would expect the winning score to be, mid-teens under par, maybe even lower. But make sure you check the weather report Wednesday night to see if the wind forecast shifts and if there's any advantages in specific tee time waves. Now, Colonial Country Club, 7,200 yard, par 70, 4 par 3s, and only 2 par 5s. The par 5 first hole, reachable in 2 by most golfers, and if the fairways are playing firm, the par 5 11th could be reachable by the longer hitters, as golfers will need to take advantage of the rollout. There aren't too many eagles at Colonial, but these 2 par 5s are still the easiest holes, especially when compared to the rest of the course. Overall, though, these two par 5s, some of the hardest on tour, so I would focus my attention more on par 4 scoring instead par 5 scoring this week. Off the tee, golfers are going to see tight tree-lined fairways with bunkers in play on most tee shots and water a factor on a few holes. Usually the Bermuda rough isn't too high, but it is wiry and is a penchant for grabbing golf balls and sinking them to the bottom of the grass. In other words, the majority of golf balls hitting the rough won't be fluffed up like we've seen at some courses throughout the year. Bad lies in the rough here are the norm. Now, it is a possibility that the rough could be higher and thicker than we have seen in the past due to, there's been a good amount of rain in the last month and a half. So pay attention to the Golf Channel and golfers talking about the rough and its thickness. If the rough is flush and taller than normal, give accurate drivers of the golf ball more of a bump up and maybe add an even more emphasis on around the green play. This is definitely a thinking man's course as it favors precision more than length. There are many doglegs making it much harder to just bomb drives out there. Golfers need to hit certain spots to have clear approach to the green. This leads to many golfers leaving their driver in the bag on a lot of tee shots. They're like guys like John Rahm in the past and others have hit their driver here more the last few years. And Rahm, he's had some good finishes here, 2017, 2018, using a good amount of driver. Now, on approach shots, golfers will see small greens with a bit of undulation. Bunkers, very prevalent around the greens. They're normally set up in the front of the putting surface. These bunkers will catch slightly mishit approaches, and we'll see a lot of work on holes where there's a headwind. The greens use bent grass and should be fairly quick with a stick meter rating of around 12. But of course, well known for a very difficult 3-hole stretch, the horrible horseshoe, holes 3 to 5. Hole 3, long par 4, big right to left dog leg. It tightens the hole even more. It lengthens the hole even more. Golfers need to avoid the bunkers and trees on their tee shots and will have a mid to long iron on their approach in the smallish green with bunkers short right and left of the putting surface. Hole 4, 250 plus yard par 3, elevated green, bunkers short and left. This is the only par 3 on the course without a hole in one in tournament play. And it can be more difficult with a headwind. You can expect that. If you get a headwind on a 250-yard par 3, you're going to be breaking out some long clubs. Now, the par 4 fifth hole, 480-plus yards long, and is the most difficult hole in the course. Slight left to right dog leg. Golfers are going to be really accurate off the tee as there are trees in a creek to the right and a large ditch on the left. On the lengthy approach shot, golfers are going to have to deal with bunkers short right, short left, and back right of this tiny, tiny green. In the last 35 years of tournament play, these 3 holes have played nearly 8,000 strokes over par, while the other 15 holes have played a combined 800 or so under par. Even though these holes are at the beginning of the round, the tournament could be lost early if golfers struggle here. If your guys start on the back and have to go to the front like on Friday, just say a prayer. And near the cut line, say a prayer. Those holes, very, very tough. Tambo, what are you looking for in golfers this week?
Yeah, the breakdown was very good. Like I said, we get to a different setup here now, 7,200 yards. The fairway's tight, things like that. So we've seen the course. That's the good news, Kenny. We know a lot about it. We got the Jordan Spieth course history like no other. We'll get to that in a second when we get to pricing. But I think the bigger decision this week is going to come down from, at least from a DFS perspective, to picking your spots, because Scottie Scheffler is here. Scottie Scheffler continues to be like, look, if he doesn't do, I forget what he shot on Saturday at the PGA Championship, but it was not good. But, it wasn't bad for how tough it was and conditions and stuff. I'm just saying, if he had played a little bit better on Saturday, he probably wins the PGA Championship. He was right there on Sunday if he does the same thing backwards. So either way, that's going to be the bigger decision. Like you said, you nailed a bunch of the stats, what we're looking for, all of that. But when we get into the tiers, the bigger factor is going to be if you think the guys in that sort of 10-5 range and down to the 9K range are worth it compared to just going in on Scottie Scheffler. And I guess you could say that comparing to the betting board too, Kenny. You've been involved in this, back and forth throughout the last few weeks, where do we just bet the guy at the top, or do you take some of the other shots? Here, I feel like you want to bet some other spots because the numbers, whatever. But in DFS, when you don't know if these other guys are going to compete with him or come up there with him at the top, he's 11-5. I think it's a bigger decision to be made. So anything else you want to talk about before we get into the tiers?
No, it sounds about right. I mean, a lot of 125 to 150, 150 to 175. A lot of holes from 400 to 450.
Par 4 emphasis that you talked about too. I should have brought that up.
What's up?
Par 4 emphasis that you brought up as well.
Yeah, especially from 400 to 450, par 4 scoring, bogey avoidance around the green play. That's all going to be important. But let's get to the tiers. Let's go ahead and start up top in this 10K range. We got Homo all the way to Scheffler. How you going, Tam?
This is what I'm saying. Yeah, good starting point. So Scheffler is the decision. I'm not sure. Again, this reminds me of what now? Is it 2 weeks ago? The Byron Nelson? Excuse me. We said it wasn't the same as Mexico, but the thought process was we have good golfers below Scheffler here. Finau, Hovland, Morikawa, Homa, Spieth, Burns, Im, Rose, Fleetwood, etc. that at least should keep him in check. Will Scheffler be low owned? No. But do we have guys to keep him in check? If you remember that week, Spieth withdrew. It was me and Andy Lack doing the pod that week. And I think Spieth withdrew when we were live recording the podcast. That changed our whole thought process. But in reality, I want to say that Scheffler only got to like 35 or 36% still. I don't really think he ever got to the 40, 50% plus number, or 40 to 50% range. So if you think of it from that perspective, as long as nobody WDs up top here, you got to think there's people that are willing to play Finau. You got to think there's people that are willing to play Hovland. You know, if you go down from there, the Spieth ownership and course history should take away. So I think that Scheffler's number is good. And I think, again, it's another decision where there will be players that just lock Scheffler in. I don't usually lock guys, so it won't be like that, but I could easily see where I am way overweight Scheffler to the field. And then in my other builds, I do something with that 9K range and then a little bit of the lower 10K range, because I know you were selling me pre-show on Homa. I'll save that to you, but some of the other guys there, like Kawa, these guys, it's talent in a field that they can beat. It's just they haven't been doing as much lately. If you go back though and look, like Kawa, 14th and a second before a 40th here last year. Finau, 4th and a second with the 20 and 23rd mixed in between the last 4 years. There is guys here that can contend and compete. And before the second place last year, again, I definitely think Scheffler was a much different golfer when he got here last year, of course, but miscut in a 55th. So there is at least something to be said. But for me, Scheffler, and then making some decisions, probably Finau, and maybe you can sell me on Homa, but really Scheffler and then dropping down to the next tier for me.
I'm definitely playing Scheffler and Homa. Scheffler, we've talked about. I mean, the guy, it's Texas. He's what, the 11,000 is not super prohibitive. You know what I'm saying? If he was like 11,800, 12,000, then you think a little bit more, but it's a lot harder to make lineups with that price. But 11K, I don't see any problem. Go ahead, use Scheffler. He's one of the best in the business. He had his B game at the PGA Championship and finished in second. You know what I'm saying? He had his B game. You know, Koepka had his A game basically for 3 rounds. Scheffler had his B game for all and his D game on Saturday, and he's still doing what he's doing. It's really incredible the run Scheffler's on. I don't think you can count him out of anything. If you want to just bet him at what is he, 5-1 and make him your only bet, whatever. It's probably better than the bets that I'm going to bet this week. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I definitely play Scheffler, but I really like Homa. I read Bamford's article. Steve Bamford. Go out, check at Bamford Golf. Him and Ben Coley are really the only 2 articles I try and read before the pod. Now, Ben releases his article on Tuesdays now, so I do not get to read Ben's article. Bamford's one I read pre-show. He made a lot of really good points in his article about Homa. First off, the betting number is 20-1. Very, very fair for someone who's won 4 times in the last 18 months. I mean, you look at the guys around him, you know, Spieth, Kawa, you know, they don't have that winning, you know, they don't win as often as Max has done. And Max tends to do well on these tight, classical, tree-lined type courses. Wells Fargo, Riviera, or whichever one he won in California all the time. Those are just tight, classic, tree-lined type courses. Now those are a little bit lengthier than Colonial, but still, I mean, you got to have that same type of mind frame, same type of game when you go into these type of courses that aren't cupcakes. You know, I like Homa in a little bit more difficult, and he showed some resilience this past weekend at the PGA Championship. It's at one point in time he was, you know, +1, even -1, around there, late second round, early third round before the weekend came, and he went down a little bit. You know, and he hasn't really been the great at majors, but we're not a major. This is an event. I really like Homa. I'll be using a lot of him. And then I'm going to play 3 guys up here because I'm fading Spieth and I'm fading Burns. So, you know, I'm not using any high 9K guys. And I'm iffy on Sungjae. I think I'm going to play him for now, but I'm not sure. So I think I'm going to go 3 guys in this 10K range. And it's either going to be Homa, it's either going to be Hovland or Finau. I think Hovland's ownership might be really, really high, but it could be worth it. And like the guys at some point in time is going to go on a run. Like he has that talent to go second, first, third, first, you know, like a Scheffler or a Rahm type run. I think he has that talent in him and I think at some point in time we're going to see it. So if Finau has a course history, I think he'll be very low owned compared to the rest of these guys in the 10K range. And that's the only reason I might lean towards Tony in this, just because I feel like his ownership might be low, but we'll have to see when it comes out, all the ownership projections and stuff on Wednesday. All right, let's move to this 9K range. I got a couple of my cash game cornerstones are going to start right here. Like I said, I'm fading Spieth. I'm worried about the wrist. I just can't help it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he basically said he was going to withdraw like every day in his post-round interview at the PGA Championship. He's like, oh, I was this close to withdrawing, but I decided to stick it out. I don't know if he's pulling a Paul Pierce on us or what the fuck he's doing. But I don't trust him. If it's not like hitting it out of that fucking rough all day and the bunkers made his wrist better. I don't understand. Like, there's 2 more elevated events that he's going to have to play before the U.S. Open. So I don't know. Maybe he's okay. And if he is, it'll probably be a good play, but I'm fading him. Burns, I feel like the ownership's going to be too high. And it just doesn't, I'm just not a Burns guy. Not at this price. I know he had the win last year, but at this price, I'm not the biggest fan of Sam Burns. I'm going to go ahead and pass. I like Justin Rose a lot. I didn't bet him, but I thought about it hard. 28-1 is a really good number. One of the best bent grass putters out there. Good showing last week at the PGA Championship. Really, really good, consistent run since his win at Pebble Beach. His course history here, very, very strong. I'm starting my cash lineup with Justin Rose. I'm going balanced. I think you can start with Scotty. That was my plan B, starting with Scotty. But there's a 6-6, I think, is going to be a little bit higher. And it has, I've been really successful the last couple of weeks because the 6-6 has been low. It's been around under 5%, 6%. And so for me, that usually ends up being better. Like, you know, prior to that, I've lost a bunch of 5 of 6s, and there was one 6 of 6 week where, you know, I just broke even because he's got the 6 of 6 percentage in cash has just gotten a lot better. People have just gotten better. I do expect the 6 of 6 to be very high this week, so I'm going more balanced. Still upside with my top guys, but more balanced. I don't and looking for those cheaper cut makers, stuff like that. We'll be able to tell my whole lineup before the end of the day is over. My second cash game cornerstone, right underneath him, Tommy Fleetwood. It was either going to bet Justin Rose or Tommy Fleetwood. The smart bet was probably Rose, but I'm not going to miss out on Fleetwood. I think at some point in time he's going to win. This seems like the event where you don't have to score 22 under. You don't have to go 23 under. You know, the mid-teens under par, like the 10 to 15 range under par, I think is what Tommy needs to win a nice, solid top 20 finish at the PGA Championship. The form looks good. He's actually number 2 in my stat model. Really good from the proximity ranges I'm looking for. Are really good on the 400 to 450 yard par 4s. Everything rates out well for him. I went ahead and took the bet 30-1. I really do like him. And then I like Chris Kirk. Again, a 9100 former champion, been playing good golf all year, got his W, got that monkey off of his back, can play a little bit more freely. Of course, his numbers, they look great. Really good around the green. Really good on the 400 to 450 yard par 4s. One of the best from 125 to 150. Really good on par 4s as a whole. I like Chris Kirk. Tambo.
Yeah, I like Chris Kirk a lot. I'm just checking some U.S. Open qualifier stuff at the moment, too. We'll talk about when we get down to the bottom tier, but part of that leans into just going back to the top for 1 second, then I'll continue on the 9K range. The other thing of the Scotty Scheffler effect this week, Kenny, is that this is a 120-man invitational type thing where there's actually a lot of guys at the bottom that you can play no problem. It's not like there's a bunch of scrubs down there everyone will have their own interpretation of that, but I'm just saying in general, there's not like a bunch of names you don't know. You can make cases for certain guys at sort of all price levels when we get down to the bottom. Some of them are actually going nuts at this qualifier right now to get in and pick up a U.S. Open spot. So they'll be feeling pretty good. I'm sure, coming into this. But yeah, just in general, I want to add that. The other thing is I liked how you just quickly wrote off Jordan Spieth, the guy with like legit the best history ever, and you're just okay with saying no. And that's going to be huge this week because I honestly don't think anything can mess around with his ownership here unless he comes out and says something else or does something more. I mean, it sounds like he's going to be playing and it's going to be good, and we'll see what happens. So I do think he's going to have the ownership there at 9,900. I like the max call, $100 above him. But then if you go into the next tier, no secret, I got a Sungjae problem. I don't know what was going on. Maybe it was the travel coming back from Korea off the win.
That's the only thing I can think of, right? For him
he's
to
been
play
so
that
good
poorly.
before. Yeah, exactly. He's been so good before. But again, if you look at the stats and everything that goes out, like he's way up there in the model for good reason, good on the par fours, making birdies, bogey avoidance. He's, I think, like number one, actually, in the last 36 for me. So just going back there, the 400 to 450, incredible. So he stands out for me. And then Chris Kirk stands out for me as well. The guy you mentioned to round yours out, he's sort of got the same sort of stats and setup. And again, Chris Kirk, I think, is the guy people always look at and say, that's just too much to pay for him. But they forget, like, the guy was really good. He had some of that, some off the course issues, came back, became good again. He's been really good. His stats don't lie. The numbers are good across the board. So like him, and then Fleetwood was the other guy that you mentioned. Those are the main ones that stand out for me. Not sure what I'll do with Spieth yet, because again, we've seen this, Kenny, where the storyline or the narrative links to people just deciding something, and then the next thing you know, they're crushing it. Like Jason Day has vertigo, wins. Jordan Spieth, mentally out of it, he says, loses in a playoff to Fitzpatrick. Hideki with the neck injury was like up there for 3 rounds and then out of it, finishes T20 there. Somebody still was in the mix. John Rahm could be fatigued from the Masters and all that stuff, comes second. It doesn't, like, all these different events, you're still seeing these guys pop up. The thing is, I do think the ownership comes with Spieth no matter what. So Sungjae, Fleetwood, Kirk, some of the guys that stand out there for me. Let's move on. Let's go to this 8K range. I want to ask you about one guy before you take over, but Ricky Fowler still looks good on the stats. The guy actually did not play bad. He missed the cut on the number. His stats were solid. It just, I think it was the putter or something left him. I have to go back and recheck it, but man, 8,900 now. What are you going to do with Ricky Fowler? And then what do you do with the rest of this 8K range?
Yeah, I think Ricky's going to win at some point in time, so I'm going to play him until it happens. We saw it with Day. I think Ricky's next. If he doesn't, it's going to be a shame, and people are going to talk about it for a long time. So he needs to get that monkey off of his back. We'll see if it happens. I'm going to play Ricky. It's not my favorite play in this range, but I mean, I'm going to play him. My favorite play in this range, is going to be Denny McCarthy. We talked about that in the intro. He's been gaining strokes with his approaches, I think, in 5 of his last 6. He's a putting god out there. He's been his form very, very good. I think 60-1 is very fair with 5 places each way. So I went ahead and took that bet. I do not mind him in cash. Hint, hint. He is, he's definitely in my cash lineup. Not one of my cornerstones. It was either one. Those toss up, because my third cash game cornerstone is Cam Davis, which is right by Denny. Of course, coming off a really strong finish over at the PGA, finished 7th here last year. His numbers aren't the greatest, but he's really good from 150 to 175, above average with his wedges, really good around the green. So I do like Cam Davis. He's my third cash game cornerstone. Denny will be in that lineup this week as well. Other guys, I like KH Lee. Again, like when it comes to the numbers, like he's well above average in almost every single category that I'm looking for. He's not playing horribly. I don't remember if he made the cut or not. I don't think he did. I think he might have missed his last couple of cuts because he made the cut on a number at Byron.
Yeah, he finished 29th, just passed. And then 50th, so, 8th, the 2 before.
Yeah. So I like KH Lee a lot down here. Maybe a little bit of Taylor Moore. I'm not sure who you going with.
The interesting one there is Harmon. I don't know if you saw, like, again, if he picks up steam, Chalk Harmon feels like he's always the worst Harmon. So not as interested in that. He's coming off 2 missed cuts, so maybe that holds him back. But before the miscut here last year, it was just a runoff of great results. 8th, 23rd, 14th, 7th, 25th, 10th, 30th, like just incredible run of course history here. And it does make sense why he would suit this course, but I can't decide this whole range, Kenny. Like, here's the thing. I can't decide if this range, to me, when you first look at it, you're like, okay, Fowler bounce back, Henley bounce back. Your point on McCarthy is good. Cam Davis, I bet him. I know why people are betting him. He's healthy now. Hoagie looks good on the stats. Min Woo Lee and KH Lee, both you could make a case for. Harmon, the reasons I said. Everyone always loves Jaeger and Taylor Moore. I listed the whole range, not to say I'm on all these guys, just to say I can't decide if it's you should pick your spots in here or if this is just you're making up a story for every single guy in here and you could just bypass this completely, like with Scotty and a 9K and jump down, or multiple 9Ks and jump down. So I think this is a week I'm probably going to build in sets. I've talked about this in the past where I'm going to get my Scotty lineups, and some of them will be Scotty with the 8K guys I prefer, which I'll name some in a second, but just to say it, some of them will be Scotty with 9Ks that skip the 8K, and then I'll make 9K lineups and 10K lineups that just skip 8K altogether to try and cover my bases on 3 sets of 50, let's say, in my 150, because the 8K range, you could make a story for all of them. Fowler and Henley, like I talked about, being the bounce backs. The one thing I'll say is I do think Fowler, we've seen it. He has been playing. I know the thing about Henley, and I liked him last week a ton. Core play, loved him. He did not come through for me. I thought he was going to find his way at the end, but he didn't. And the thing I thought back to, almost like the Sung Jae traveling from Korea thing, was with Henley. If I'm doing any type of review on it, I'm thinking some of those results where he played so well was at the Masters or at like little events of the Heritage or whatever it was. It's not like he'd been playing a bunch of golf. Fowler has been playing a bunch of golf. He's been playing great golf. And then last week, he still played good golf and just missed on the numbers. So you feel good about that. You've got me sold on Denny McCarthy, and I kind of liked him coming in anyway, so I can go there. Cam Davis and a guy we'll talk about later, Ryan Palmer, who I also bet, feel more like good bets based on the number than they do as plays if they get super popular. We'll have to wait and see. Hoagie could be a guy that comes in under-owned that usually people like. The stats show he's good, but if everyone's going to play Fowler, Henley, McCarthy, above and below him, Harmon, Jaeger, I think Hoagie is a little bit of a sneaky GPP play there, so I'll mark him. I think he's interesting. And then if it's one over the other, I'm always going to go to my guy Jaeger bombs over Harmon. I understand why people would go there, but I'm just saying with the history. But I like Jaeger's game. Last week, not the best, still made the cut, but before that, 11th, 27th, 18th. The stats look great, so he's another guy in this 8K range that stands out for me. Then after that, I kind of really like the upper 7K range.
Why don't you go ahead? Talk about the upper 7.
Yeah, so one guy right out of the gate is the first one there is Kirk Kitayama. Man, I know he was struggling a little bit after his win at the API, but first of all, to get that win at the API is not an easy thing to do. It's a designated event. Got the monkey off his back when it comes to that, and then goes out last week and has himself another really great week. Different course setup altogether for sure, but if you just go through, the numbers are kind of middling. I'm betting more on talent for price. We do this all the time. We have this conversation on the show. This guy here in this range not only already has a big-time win this season, he's got another big-time finish just yesterday, finishing top 5 in a major, and now coming into a field that I definitely think he can beat. So I like him. One of the old guys. You talked about the old guys showing up around this place. Brendan Todd. Go look at the numbers. Maybe not the best on your models and stuff, but if you want to talk about a guy just fairways and greens, and then you look at his history here, I think it was a 3rd and a 4th, 3rd and an 8th the last 2 years. Before last week, it was an 8th and 26th. So maybe not the best setup for him, but this is a much better setup for him. So 7,800, I like him. Grillo can play some of him. Smalley is a guy that I already liked. And then he was the guy, I just talked about that list earlier. Right now, Smalley, Carson Young, Austin Eckroat, just to name some of them, Ryan Palmer, who we'll mention at the bottom, just tearing up this qualifier to get into the U.S. Open. So, and it's almost over. So I would assume they all get one of the seats to get in. But anybody playing good golf like that coming in, there's nothing that can feel better than getting the seat, knowing that's already covered, and you're playing a little bit of confidence in you, and you're playing sort of swing free. Like you can just go out and do your thing, continue to play good golf. I like that. So Smalley, who was playing well at the PGA Championship too, and then Lucas Herbert at 7,500, I think stands out as well. Who do you like in this upper 7K range?
I like the 3 guys up top. I like English, Todd, and Bez. Harris English has had some spike rounds, some spike events here. It looks like he's healthy. Old man course, old man plan. Let me go ahead and use a little bit of Harris English. The stats aren't going to show too much for him, especially if you go deeper, like last 50. But more recently, he's been playing a lot better golf. Brendan Todd, you spoke about it. He's going to be in a bunch of my lineups. And I like Bezuidenhout, who had a really strong finish last year here. These type of courses where, again, you don't have to shoot 27 under par to win the event, I think are really helpful. This is sort of like his zone, like in a Tommy Fleetwood type zone, where I do like him. Again, his around the green game should be helpful. So I do like Bezuidenhout, those 3 up top. When we go down into the bottom, my final cash game cornerstone is going to be Eric Cole, who was, first round, who was near the top of the leaderboard at the PGA Championship for the first couple of rounds, has been playing really excellent golf. A lot of top finishes and a lot of made cuts here recently. And in my stat model, he comes in inside the top 15. So all of that just works well for me to use him as my final cash game cornerstone. So my cash game cornerstones for this week are going to be Justin Rose at 9,300, Tommy Fleetwood at 9,200, Cam Davis at 8,600, and then Eric Cole at 7,200. Leaves you, I don't know, like well over 15,000, like 15,600, 15,500 to fill out the rest of your lineup. You can even go 8K, which I'm doing, down to a high 6K, which I'm doing for my cash game lineup. Other guys I do like down here, Billy Horschel has not been playing really good golf, but for $7,400 and the talent level he has on an old man's course, that he's played decent here in the past, I'll take a flyer on a single-digit % owned Billy Horschel down here. Who else? Ryan Palmer. It's in Texas. You play Ryan Palmer in Texas. Staying with Davis Riley. It seems like you play Davis Riley in Texas. Those are just things you do. Justin Suh, been playing really, really good golf, was up there on the first page of the leaderboard all the way up until late Saturday. He's been making a shit ton of cuts, really been keeping my season-long fantasy team alive here. I think I've won like 5 in a row in solid with a bunch of the Golf Digest boys, Boston Capper, Andy Lack's in it, Brian Kirshner's in it. Doing pretty well in that one. And then Giuseppe. Give me a little Giuseppe Straka, who is just lights out with the irons at the PGA Championship. Again, another guy I like in courses that are not going to be 27 under, 22 under. You get that mid-teens to low double digits. That I feel like that's his zone, and I like him. And I really like his number. What was it, like 170 to 1? 8 places each way. I'm a fan of that. Tambo, who's in this lower area that you like?
Yeah, I think this is a really good range, and it goes back to what I was saying up top, Kenny, with the Scheffler conversation. This is a range that you can just land in and feel pretty safe. Like I said, when we get to the bottom 6Ks, there's going to be guys we talk about, but if you're breaking it down for the 7K range, there's a lot that I can go to. Starting at the bottom, I always go for Aaron Rye. Again, not everybody likes him, make fun of him, 2 gloves and iron covers and all that stuff, but talent-wise, at 7,000, I think he's a good play down here. Matthew Neesmith just showed up. Both him, Sam Stevens, even Putnam, all those guys at 71, you can make some choices. Palmer, like I said, maybe a better bet because, well, he is ripping up that qualifier that we just talked about. I got him at 125. He's played really well recently. You talked about him in Texas, but if he gets extremely popular, there's lots of guys around him. Buckley, Poston, Nick Taylor is a guy that I like here. Nick Taylor's actually seen this course quite a few times, and then you go back and look at some of his stats. Last week wasn't the best course for him. I just had the numbers up here. One was the setup. So going before this week, he had a 2nd, 15th, 10th, 31st, 41st, all solid at this price point. And then you go back and look at his stats, and he's like mid top 25 or so in the model. Great on 400 to 450, top 30 in a bunch of the main stats, strokes gained, par 4, all the good driving percentage, all the stuff that we'd be looking at, for this event. He fits it. So I kind of like him at 7,200 as a potential pivot for somebody like Ryan Palmer. And then other than that, I think it's just, matter of just taking your stances, but I think there is guys in the 6K range that we could play as well.
Yeah, when we get to the 6K range, the first one is I really like Reedy. It's possible he's in my cash lineup as well. The Chesticle Reedy, $6,900, couple of top 10s. One at a course where at Wells Fargo, where you would not expect him to finish top 10. Good showing at the PGA Championship. He's playing well at courses that I don't think he should be playing well at. That says a lot to me, especially for a 6K guy. Really like Ches Reedy, 350 to 1, 8 places each way. I'll go ahead and take that bet. He's probably my favorite play in this range. Nate Lashley, he's just been striping the ball like consistently. Like the last 50 rounds, he's 12th in strokes gained approach in this field. And there's it's not all scrubs in this field. I mean, to be top 15 in this field in strokes gained approach, that's saying something, especially for a guy at $6,900. Give me a little bit of Nate Lashley down here. Akshay Bhatia, again, his biggest weaknesses are going to be putting, short game, and bogey avoidance. Well, if the winds are going to be like 5 to 10 miles per hour all week, hopefully he's hitting a lot of fairways and a lot of greens. And he can avoid a lot of that short game, badness that he has. That's what I'm hoping on for a guy at that price. Eckroat, again, a guy who was, in contention, almost winning an event. What was it, Byron Nelson a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah,
he was up there. You almost won the damn thing. Give me at the same price. At this price, definitely take another run at him. You said he's playing out of his mind at the U.S. Open qualifier too, right, Tambo?
Yes, that's what I was just pulling back up to see where he's at right now.
Yeah. So I like Eckroat a lot, and then maybe a little bit of Robbie Shelton. Just the model likes him. So at $6,400, if a model has him in the top 20 in the last 50 rounds, I'll just go ahead and play him.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see what the latest update is here. I had it in front of me. It was right now we've got, it's just rounding out, it looks like. So we've got Carson Young at the top. Carson Young, wow, he's 14 under. The next closest is 11 under. You watched it on the documentary. You know how they play through it 2 rounds. Right?
Oh, okay. That's right.
Remember the White Claws?
I was like 14 under. What the fuck? I thought he played
the White
one
Claws
round.
at the turn for our guy Joel Damon. So I mean, they're running through it. But Eckroat is 10 under. Who else is up there right now? Where did Ryan Palmer go? Ryan Palmer's 6 under, so he actually dropped down. S.H. Kim, Novak, some of the other guys in this field that just I'm seeing here up at the top. Norlander. Man, I don't know. Paul Haley's up there. He's another guy. But yeah, Carson Young and Eckroat. I like the Eckroat call anyway. Like I said, we know what his talent is. It's boom bust, but the upside is there, and the boom looks really good when you get it. We saw that, like I said, just a couple weeks ago, so I don't hate that. Akshay is just your betting on talent. He's another guy down here. You could say another guy you could look at was who's the other guy you were saying at the top? Nate Lashley. Yeah, just going across the board with his stats and seeing everything that he's been doing. Very solid across the board at 6,900, so I think he's fine. Some of the other guys that stand out, the Ben Griffin, Ben Martin, just from a stats perspective. Mark Hubbard, 6,600. Robbie Shelton, another boom bust guy that I think you could go to down here. I always play a little Grayson Sigg. Carson Young at 6,300. If he gets popular, I think it's fine to go away from it. Obviously playing good right now, but it's just, you never know at that price, you're taking a risk anyway. And then Tyler Duncan is a guy that I'll always play a little bit of just for the good first name mojo. Same first name, got to roll him out, but he looks pretty good too. Anybody else in this 6K range that you like?
No, I mean, I might play Michael Kim. I might play Dylan Wu, but the guys I talked about are going to be my main guys.
Yeah, Dylan Wu, another guy actually. Like, what was his price?
67?
Yeah, I think he was
66.
Stats earlier. I was looking at some stuff. He is 6,600. Yeah, I like him there as well.
Sounds good. One and done. Who you got?
I got to see who I have left, man. I don't think I used Scheffler in one last week, so that turned out okay.
James Brooks,
the other was not good.
Koepka in the one and done.
I should have done that.
Yep. I jumped up to like inside the top 800 or some shit like that.
I think I might use like I got Chris Kirk I can use in one, maybe something like that. And then in the other one, I have a lot more options. I have Homa, I have Im, I have Hovland. So with them being all 40% range, I think I'm going to go there and try and get different in that one, because funny enough, my other one started so strong. This other one that I've been picking the other stuff's in up to almost 10 million now. Has just been climbing back into it. So got to finish strong, but I think it's going to be like a Chris Kirk, Homa, maybe to your point earlier, Hovland, something like that I'll end up using.
All right, I'm going Denny McCarthy or Justin Rose, more than likely, from my one and done. All right, Tambo, bets.
Yeah, I got 4. I'm going to add to this by Wednesday, but Cam Davis, 55. Kurt Kitayama, nice. 70. Palmer, 125. And Reavie, 400. The first 3 are with 8 places. The Reavie is with 5 places. That's all I got for now, though.
So I got Homa at 20-1. I got Fleetwood at 30-1. I got Cam at 40-1. I like your number a lot better.
Okay.
Then I got Denny 60-1, 5 places each way. I got Giuseppe Stracca, 150-1, 8 places each way. Bhatia, 170-1, 8 places each way. And then I got a pretty big bet on Reavie, 350-1, 8 places each way. So that's going to be my betting card for this week. Hopefully we can go back to back. That would be beautiful. And I feel sort of good about it, especially about Denny. I feel it for Denny this week. Denny or Fleetwood, 2 of the guys that 2 of the better guys without a PGA Tour win. If we're throwing that in the mix, I should throw in Fowler, but no.
He's got to win. He's got a PGA Tour.
Yeah, not a win in a while. How about that? True. Yep. So I like Denny and Fleetwood. Look out for him. Tambo, why don't you tell everyone about your new shit?
Yeah, well, I was just looking up Denny and Fleetwood numbers because that's kind of like the perfect range I have to round up my card, Kenny. If I want to make it a 6-pack with 55, 70, 125, and 400, I could just throw the 30 and the 55 on there and be done with it. That's with 8 places. If you want to take those guys, probably wouldn't take the 8 places on the 30, but just in general, just looking at it. So we'll check it out. I'll have more by Wednesday. That's great news. Like you said, talk about the new gig, shipitnation.com. It's been an incredible start. I want to thank everybody out there that has joined, all the original support, the people coming in out of the gate has been awesome. Pretty easy. We put the slogan out, everything you need to have success with DFS. It is daily fantasy sports focused right now. It's got PGA, it's got MLB, both going on right now. Then it's going to have NFL, NBA, NHL. We've got projections for 4 of the 5. The only one we don't have projections for yet are PGA, but we've got it for the 4 other sports. It's the same projections I've used in NBA this past season to win the 3 live final seats on DraftKings to go down and win almost $150K in Denver. So it's got those, but that's why the price is so good. The price will run out at midnight tonight on the introductory offer. It's $49 a month or $4.99 for the year. We ran this for the last 8 days. It's only going up $10 though. We had to have a one-time, one week only offer. It'll never come back. It'll be $59 or $5.99 starting tomorrow. But either way, still very fair for what's included, getting all of that stuff. It's got tools for MLB. We've had a bunch of winners already. The Discord is awesome. I know Kenny's got to hit me up for that lifetime free membership. So we'll talk about that after the show. But again, appreciate everyone that's been out there checking us out. If you have any questions, hit me up direct on Twitter at @ToeTagAndTambo. Our Twitter is at ShipItNation. You can check out the site, shipitnation.com. And then, of course, on Twitter this week, I'll have everything out the same. Get the tidbits out early Wednesday morning. Go to Mayo's studio, record the live in-studio show with him. And then the showdown shows are back on Mayo Media Network as well for round 2 and round 3 as part of a collaboration with Ship It Nation. So lots of stuff going on, Kenny. Excited for what we got here and everything that we've got going on at Fantasy Golf Degenerates as well.
Yeah, I do have to say it's nice working for so many people over the years and getting all these lifetime memberships. We worked for Roto Grinders, so I got one of those. What else? Fanshare Sports. We did some of theirs. Cut Sweats over for Nelson. I got Rick Rungood, lifetime membership there. Fantasy National, lifetime membership there. Always a bonus for working for different people throughout the years, so you can get these lifetime memberships. I'm definitely, and of course, lifetime membership of Gup's Corner. You can find me on Twitter at KendoVT. You can find my articles at gupscorner.com. Use promo code Kenny. Save yourself 30% on the membership. Both me and Gup had Kepka last week on our betting card, so it was a solid week. A lot of green screens for our members, so make sure you go and check that out. Anything else, Tambo?
All those people that just heard you say that you got their free membership, they're coming for you. Wait and see how many get cut off after this pod. We're like, wait, that guy still has that shit?
All those sites are great sites.
Yeah.
Great sites. All of them. All of them. So hey, there you go. I just plugged all of the sites for you. Keep my free membership. All right, guys. You know, I don't feel a major hangover on this one. I am ready to rock. Let's get this done. Let's win some motherfucking money. Degen Nation.
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort. Stacking penny stocks while I'm flipping these birds. Sipping on Ciroc, trip 'em up.